Good evening and welcome. I am Amarachi Ubani. Tonight, death toll in yesterday's attack on mourners by suspected insurgents in Badu community, Borno State, rises to over 60. President Buhari restates resolve to end menace. Presidency clarifies position on the proscription of the Islamic movement in Nigeria, says decision is not an attempt to undermine the right to freedom of religion in the country. Some oil-producing communities in the Niger Delta cry out over continued pollution of the environment as a result of activities of vandals as well as security agencies. And tensions on the rise in Hong Kong as violent clashes between police and pro-democracy demonstrators continue for a second day. Call it double trouble for the people of Badu in Ngazai local government area of Borno State, and you will not be wrong. This is because the death toll from yesterday's attack on a group of presidents who were returning from a funeral has risen to 65. This figure was confirmed by the chairman of the local government, Muhammad Bulama, during the visit of the Borno State Governor Babagana Zulum to the village, where he promised to ensure the resilience of the people is strengthened. Mr. Bulama explained that the attack was a reprisal carried out by the insurgents following an earlier encounter with the villagers who repelled an attack by the terrorists and retrieved arms and stolen animals from them.
About 55 persons have lost their lives, resulting from Boko Haram attack. We personally came here to condole them. I sincerely sympathize with the families, and may Almighty Allah in His infinite wisdom. For those that felt they were forced into this act, government is willing to strengthen the Operation Safe Corridor that has been established by the federal government, so that we shall allow dialogue, which is very important. For those who are willing to lay their arms, they should be allowed to come, so that we shall open up vistas of opportunities for dialogue.
Taking away the camels, the cows, everything. So the people decided to defend themselves. So when they went there, they succeeded and killed about 11 Boko Harams and recovered 10 AK-47. They have submitted it to the Commissioner of Police. So they are here. The yesterday's attack was a retaliation as a result of that action they took, and they attacked them when they are doing a funeral service to some people. They lost somebody there. During the burial, they attacked them at the graveyard.
And the president appears not to be taking this latest attack in Borno State lightly. He has ordered drastic action by the security forces to track down the perpetrators. In a statement, President Muhammadu Buhari said he had received assurances from the armed forces that the terrorists who committed these killings will pay a big price for their action. Already, a major exercise is set to have begun to hunt down the attackers with air patrols by the nation's Air Force and ground operations by the Army. He promised the residents of Maiduguri and the citizens settled in IDP camps that they will receive increased protection from further attacks by the assailants. The statement adds that the federal government is firmly and resolutely committed to taking all necessary measures to safeguard the nation's security and end the menace of terrorism. In the meantime, the Southeast governors have agreed to set up a security monitoring and intelligence gathering committee and center in Enugu to address emerging security challenges in the region. Addressing journalists after a 4-hour closed-door meeting at the Government House Enugu, a chairman of the forum, Mr. Dave Umahi, says the committee has agreed to key into the federal government community policing program through the establishment of forest guards in each state. In addition, the governors plan on safeguarding the roads by carrying up 50 meters into the bush to have a clear view of the roads ahead. They also plan to look into the safety of fuel pipeline routes to Enugu to ensure that pumping of petroleum products in Enugu depot resumes in earnest. The governor made a fresh call on the federal government to reconstruct the runway of the Akanu Ibiam International Airport in Enugu and the federal roads in the region for the safety of the people. Meanwhile, the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, has paid a condolence visit to the family of late Precious Owolabi at their residence in Zaria, Kaduna State. The visit comes 3 days after the body of the late Owolabi was laid to rest in Zaria. He was a youth corps member undergoing his primary assignment with Channels Television, but died during the violent protest by members of the Islamic movement in Nigeria in Abuja last week. His father, Mr. Ayo Owolabi, described the visit of the Vice President, who was accompanied by the Governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai, as encouraging, adding that the federal government's support has brought some measure of relief to the family at a time like this. Others in the Vice President's entourage include the Director General of the NYSC, Brigadier General Ibrahim Shuaibu, traditional rulers, and other government officials.
We are okay with the PPA's visit because it indicates, it's an indicator of the importance of the federal government attached to the incident. So that's going a long way to alleviate the pressure that has come upon since Monday when this incident happened. When things like this happen, we felt bad, and we are still feeling bad. It's natural and normal to feel bad. And then after seeing the other authority concern, showing concern and other things to show that they themselves, they are feeling the pain that we are feeling, they are sharing in our pains and pressure. It's a very long way to help us in this time of grieving.
In other news, the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, the NNPC, has warned individuals and communities along the corridor of the system of its pipeline of the inherent danger in the violation of its right-of-way in the network along the Port Harcourt-Aba-Enugu-Makurdi axis. In a statement by its Group General Manager, Group Public Affairs Division, Ndu Gamadu, the NNPC says the infringement on the statutorily guaranteed 25-meter setback for the infrastructure is not only detrimental to the free flow of petroleum products, but is far more harmful to dwellers of illegal structures due to the combustible nature of hydrocarbon. According to the NNPC, the creation of the minimum 25-meter buffer for the pipeline is designed to allow for maintenance, repairs, and replacements of pipelines as need may arise, while ensuring the security and safety of the facility. The corporation notes that as first step towards the eventual removal of such structures by the team of Army Engineering Corps, its downstream subsidiary, Nigerian Pipeline and Storage Company, embarked on extensive consultation and enlightenment exercise targeted at violators in affected communities, and that the safety and well-being of the people remain paramount. The corporation insists that the essence of Red Flag is to bring urgency to the situation along the Port Harcourt-Aba-Enugu-Makurdi line, whose level of violation is about 75%, stating that the position is intolerable, with clear cases of individuals channeling products into private homes. Meanwhile, some oil-producing communities in Delta State are asking the government to intervene and address the problem of persistent pollution of their environment. They're also appealing to the government to check the activities of oil exploration companies, vandals, and security agencies who destroy illegal oil installations. In response to this call, the state government, through an advocacy committee against vandalism of oil and gas facilities, led by the deputy governor, has been visiting affected communities to assess the situation.
Delta State in the Niger Delta region is home to many oil-producing communities But instead of the dividends thereof, most of the residents face the problem of environmental pollution owing to vandalism and certain activities of oil companies. For such communities, it is not only the damage to the flora and fauna that affects lives and livelihood, the air they breathe as well gets polluted. The situation appears to have caught the attention of the state government, prompting an assessment tour by the Delta State Advocacy Committee against vandalism of oil and gas facilities to affected communities. A helicopter ride provides an aerial view of the impact of oil spills from exploded vessels in Warri North and Warri Southwest local government area. Back on the ground, the team led by the Deputy Governor of Delta State, Kingsley Otuaro, visits Olero, a community whose residents point to the destruction of artisanal refineries by security agencies as part of the problem.
The water, surface water and groundwater have been so polluted so that no longer have good source of domestic drinkable water in our communities anymore.
Next visit is to Okerenkoko, where the Deputy Governor meets residents lamenting about the destruction of their environment.
The idea of like burning crude oil both undiluted refined product into the water is not a better idea, and I am appealing to the military for a good job, not to be like jeopardized, to look for a proper site to pull away unrefined products so that they won't be spilled over into the water.
Mr. Otuaro insists that the state government is working towards finding a lasting solution to the problem.
We are enjoining the communities to exercise patience, that the government is looking seriously into these complaints, because what is happening is worrisome and disgusting. The environment is too depopulated, and we just need to think through.
The Delta State Advocacy Committee against vandalism of oil and gas facilities was set up by Governor Ifeanyi Okowa. The committee's mandate is to monitor, ensure that oil and gas exploration is carried out without jeopardizing the safety and protection of the environment of host communities.
The federal government has begun attempts at clearing the seeming confusion arising from the court order granting it permission to proscribe the Islamic movement in Nigeria and declare it a terrorist organization. The president is explaining that the proscription of the IMN has nothing to do with banning Shiites in the country from practicing their faith. In a statement by the Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, the presidency says that contrary to the claim by IMN that it had been banned from practicing its religion, the government has not banned Shiites from observing their 5 daily prayers and going to Mecca to perform the holy pilgrimage. It describes the position of the IMN as blatantly false and deceptive, adding that the banned organization was taken over by extremists who did not believe in peaceful protests. The statement adds, the presidency agrees that the Constitution protects freedom of worship, but not to the detriment of the society, especially where such freedom harms others and breaks law and order. The presidency insists that such criminal behavior and disregard for rights of others and human life will not be tolerated by any responsible government. Having defied appeals to operate peacefully and given their seeming determination to destabilize the country, the government had to act before the situation goes out of control. End of quote. It says the government is fighting lawlessness and criminality and not pursuing a policy of discrimination against any group, and that the IMN cannot be in court while at the same time engaging in violent protests, molesting people and inflicting pains on others. In part 2, after the break, troops kill 5 bandits and rescue 2 kidnapped victims in Kaduna State. Please join us again.